The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air. Oh, David!
Hiram, how many times do I have to tell you? I am Solomon, David's son.
But you look so much like David. Forgive me. Did I tell you that me and your father were really good friends?
Yes, I've heard these stories a million times. But honestly though, I really appreciate all you've done. It meant a lot for you to help us with building this temple that meant so much to my father David.
Speaking of the temple, how's that project going?
Oh, you know what? We are almost done.
Really?
Really, and because of your hired labor that you gave us, because of the logs that you sent on rafts downstream, also the help from the Gibeonites, along with my men, man, we should be done in no time.
Man, how many laborers did you guys have? Because I know we sent about 10,000, 20,000, I can't remember.
It must have been, it had to have been more than that. We had 30,000 ourselves. Honestly, I just can't thank you enough. It's year 6 right now, and I'm thinking we should be done by next year.
No problem for thanking me, man. Me and your father go way back. We had a lot of good times together. I loved him like a brother, you know. I loved him like a brother.
Yeah, I've heard.
Welcome to 2023. Hope this new year is filled with many blessings for you. On this week's episode, we are picking back up where we left off last year in 1 Kings, and we will be discussing chapters 5 and 6 and the building of Solomon's temple. As always, be blessed and enjoy. All right. Welcome back to another episode of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast.
My name is Nakhaz Gay.
My name is Earl Roberts. And, you know, we're your hosts of A Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Welcome to 2023.
Right, and I wish I saw this before, but I think our banner getting cut out, you know. But this is the perfect time to give some more highlight to the banner, you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Someone's going to compliment, hey, your banner's a little, you know, we'll work on it.
Yeah.
It's
our first time.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on. It's our first time.
We're growing. So hopefully everyone had a great holiday season. Great start to your new year. This is our first episode of 2023. So I know everyone's probably already have their new year resolutions started. Just want to probably just give you some more stuff to like add to your resolutions. It's pretty simple. I mean, I know at the beginning of every year, everyone who does a New Year's resolution, and I feel like if they're Christian, they always put like get closer to God or work on praying more or spending more quality time with God. And my encouragement is to be a person like who, one, not only probably does it, but actually like try to like stick with it. Because I feel like you start at beginning like January 1st. You start, right? January 2nd, 1st, whenever you start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you try to do too much at once. And so by the end of January, you're already burnt out and you're back to doing what you were doing the year before. And what I mean by that is that you can say, okay, you want to go from spending, I don't know, it might just sound bad, right? But you want to go from spending 0 time with God during your day to saying, I'm going to spend an hour with God every day.
A little drastic.
Realistically, you ain't going to do it. And now you're going to almost be forced. You're going to get like a bad taste in it when you do it. And I'm not, so my thing is, I say take it in baby steps. When you meet someone for the first time, you ain't spending every moment of your life with them. You know what I'm saying? How about you, you know, I wouldn't say date God, but how about you, you know, just go off on saying, okay, you know what? I'll spend like 10 minutes with God every day. 10 minutes. That's, you could do prayer, your devotional, read the Bible, but you say I'm going to spend 10 minutes with God every day. And get good at that 10 minutes. And that 10 minutes, might take you a month. It might take you 2 months to get like good and solid within 10 minutes. And then after that 10 minutes, then you can say, okay, I'm going to increase it to 15 minutes. Then after that 15 minutes, I'm going to increase it to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And then who even knows, like during that, you might be like, all right, I want to just spend more time with God today than I did the rest of the other days. But I'm just saying, don't bite off more than you can chew. Because at the end of the year, you want to like grow in your faith. And that's the next, like brings me to like my next point. Like put God first, grow in your faith. And simultaneously, but growing in your faith, know what you believe and why you believe it. And this is one of the biggest things you were on like the last couple of years too. Like not only just saying I'm a Christian, but why do I believe? Like what do you say? What do you believe?
Why you believe it and where it's found.
And where it's found. And I encourage everyone to go on this journey as well. And again, in your time, spending time with God, 5, 10, 15 minutes. Some people are on 2 hours with God a day. Some people, you know, got the Enoch lifestyle, walking and talking with God every day. And that's great. And that's what we should all aspire to be. But I know I don't have 5 hours. I ain't on that level yet.
Not yet.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like definitely like, and get firmer in your beliefs, get firmer in your faith, get firmer into why you do things a certain way, get firmer in like knowing where things are found in the Bible, because I feel like we're getting to the point in time where these things, not saying they were not always important, but in today's society and I think where the world is heading, you're going to have these conversations more and more and more. And you're going to come across people who know the Bible really well and simultaneously know how to twist it really well. And they know what they believe and why they believe it and where it's found in history and even how the Bible, quote unquote, contradicts itself. And if you don't know what you believe, you get stumbled and you get more easily led astray.
Yeah.
So definitely dig deeper, know what you believe. And I guess for me, the last thing is like this year was something I want to do more better because kind of go off of our last episode, but like turn to God first more. Even the simple things, instead of turning to God last. It's human nature, I feel like, to, one, we take on our burdens. Let's just be honest. We take on our burdens. We say we're going to solve our situation before we turn to God. And even the simple things, like, okay, God, I feel I can handle this, but I'm releasing it to your hands and I'm trusting you to bring me through the situation. Versus saying, oh, I got this. And you might have it, but you might put up more work and you might go through more resistance that you probably even needed to go through. But not just trusting God with the big things, but trusting God in the small things too. So just trying to always turn to God first. So, I mean, that's my, I guess, weekly taught.
Do your mic up a little bit.
Oh, my apologies. Hopefully you guys got all of that.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Okay.
I got you. But to add on to that.
Perfect.
One thing, you know, just in general, you know, because it's New Year's, it's a fresh page, a fresh thought. It should be some type of motivation there. And, you know, in general, it's wise not to overwork yourself. You know what I'm saying? To have sustainable goals. Last year, my wife and I, we read 5 chapters of the Bible a day, and that was our way of pushing through so that we could read the whole Bible. But I'll tell you, you know, we was going strong. I ain't gonna lie. Probably like 7-8 months, we get to the New Testament. We get through the gospel. We got through the Gospels, and then it was like, oh, just fatigue, bro. Like it was like, man, I can't. So no, but it's so funny because if at first we was reading 5 chapters a day, I read a chapter, you read a chapter, so on and so forth, and then it gone to, all right, we could listen to 5 chapters, the 5 chapters, but then it get to a point where it's like, bro, man, I gotta open this book and I gotta do this, but I really want to just get my day started because in my mind, it's very important to me in general to pray and read the Bible before I start my day, just in general. But it's like, man, I can't eat breakfast. I can't go to the gym. I can't do nothing because I got to read all these stuff. And, you know, it became a pain. And I just got to a place where I was just reading the same chapter for like probably a week or so because I ain't retained nothing.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, let me don't shortchange myself because I want to understand it. But man, I only did this just for doing sake, you know. But it does take intentionality and just realism, you know, just being realistic with yourself. I'm not doing no 5 chapters a day this year. Bro, it's crazy if I even do 2 chapters a day. You know what I'm saying? The goal for me is a chapter a day because I already have a gist of what a lot of these books are talking about. Now, I want to have an understanding. So,
yeah. And to me, that's an important thing too, is like knowing what your goal is, because I feel it's cute, because I was there before too. I feel it's cool to say, oh yeah, I read the whole Bible in a year, right? Mm-hmm. But how much did you really retain in that year? And it's like you get the base foundation. You say, okay, I get a general understanding of what's in the Bible and what's kind of in there. Bro, you ask me what's in Obadiah right now, I might have a general idea what Obadiah said.
Now you got
I can't quote nothing. I can't quote nothing from Haggai. No. I always feel like I pronounce it wrong.
Bro, it's so funny, bro, because like I say, I read through the whole Bible last year. But you remember it was one book I was just talking to you about last week. It might have even been Haggai. I was like, bro, when they put this book in the Bible, So, ladies and gentlemen, that's obviously one of them ones we just play over. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember that at all, bro.
Exactly. But overall, and yeah, switching gears, I really hope everyone has a blessed and prosperous 2023. Hopefully, the year is filled with abundance. And I mean, no year is perfect. Everyone will experience their ups and downs as the years goes on. But again, hopefully we turn to God. And this is for me and Kazi too, you know what I'm saying? Like, hopefully everyone turns to God, keep God first, and still like keep up the good faith. And also be a light, be the salt of the earth. Like, share the gospel with others, share the good news with others. And, just have fun with it. Like I guess kind of aim of our podcast too is like, making Christianity be relatable to mostly young folks, but at the same time, just everyone. Like, Christianity doesn't have to be what the world think it is, as this religion of don'ts, but it's a liberating religion. It's a liberating belief. And I feel like it's a good news that we know that we have, and we should share it with others and be happy to share it with others.
Amen.
So yeah, I felt like we haven't done Kings in a while.
Bro, for real, I feel like we ain't do a part in this format in a while. Like, and it's crazy because we only did
we only missed 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but man, I feel completely like off rhythm.
No, I agree.
Yeah, but
I agree.
It's good. It's all good.
So we are in 1 Kings 5.
6? Oh, 5. Yeah, 5.
5.
Yep.
So for recap of everyone, Solomon is now king. Solomon took care of anyone who would stood in his way. Solomon also at this point had, the most famous Solomon story where God was like, I can give you riches. I can take care of your enemies for you. And Solomon said, you know what, Lord, what I need right now is wisdom. And then God gave Solomon everything else along with the wisdom. And then Solomon also, spared the baby.
Yep. And then on the last episode, well, the chapter before this, they was just kind of going into the organization
of his kingdom.
Right. And then all of the food
he had a big feast.
Yeah, they was eating big every day.
Really huge feast.
So things looking up. So that's just the foundation. He is established now. The Lord has blessed him with wisdom as well as riches and peace from his enemies and all of that good stuff. And now we get to see the groundwork and how he maneuvered through his kingdom with these luxuries.
So reading from the New King James, now Hiram, however you say it, king of Tyre, sent servants to Solomon because he heard that they had anointed him king in place of his father. For Hiram had always loved David. Then Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, you know my father David could not build a house for the name of the Lord his God, because of the wars which were fought against him on every side, until the Lord put his foes under the soles of his feet. So in verse 4, but now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side. There is neither adversary nor evil occurrence. And behold, I propose to build a house for the name of the Lord my God. As the Lord spoke to my father David, saying, your son whom you set on your throne in your place, he shall build the house for my name. Now therefore command that they cut down cedars for me from Lebanon, and my servants will be with your servants, and I will pay you wages for your servants according to whatever you say. For you, there is none among us who has skill to cut timber like the Sidonians.
All right, so just to rewind a little bit, interesting because I'm looking at 2 Samuel chapter 7, and Solomon kind of made mention that he's about to build a house that his father David had dreamed of building, the house for God, basically the temple. And so just to recap, in 2 Samuel chapter 7, after the Ark of the Covenant had been returned to Jerusalem, David, he was saying, man, I want to build a house for God. You know what I mean? I living in this luxury house and I got to do something for God. And Nathan was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then in a dream that night, God was like, no, you know what I mean? You ain't gonna be the guy to actually do it. Your son is gonna be the guy to actually do it. I think in the Chronicles account, they mentioned your son Solomon would do it. Now, I'm not sure if that's because they knew because at the time when Chronicles was written, they already knew who was gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? Or the fact that God had told them specifically Solomon was gonna do it. It's up for debate if you care that much. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we see now this prophecy, if you will, being fulfilled, whereas Solomon is actually being the person taking care of the temple building duties.
What is interesting too, right? So it shows the relationship between what David had with this King Hiram, because how did Hiram really know that David wanted to build this temple for real? That means you guys have to really be good friends to be pen paling, I would say, because this is the days before, way before the internet, way before electricity. So I'm saying you guys learned to send physical letters or actually go visit each other.
Yeah, and they obviously had had some type of bond because Hiram loved David. I care about this person. I love that guy, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's a good guy. And we know that David had enemies. And David himself, he wrote about his enemies plenty times in the book of Psalms. David mentioned that he lived in a house of cedar, right? And he wanted to do the same for God. So 2 Samuel 7 verse 2 says, the king said to Nathan the prophet, see now I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of God dwells inside tents. So let's think about cedar. All of the cedar coming from
Tyre,
you know what I'm saying? So that could already been a connection there. David lived in a house of cedar, so he probably exported it, imported it from there, and that's where the relationship could have developed.
That's interesting.
Another thing too, though, David on his deathbed, he was telling Solomon, all right, make sure you repay this person for their sins, repay this person for their kindness. And he also gave Solomon the provisions for building the temple.
Yep.
And you made a mention of that David, he set up a lot of stuff for Solomon so that Solomon could come
and just build it. Yeah.
And just build it. You know what I'm saying? So from there, we could see that Hiram is the man to bring all the, to ease the connect for the cedar. David would have had to already set that up.
That's true too.
Beforehand.
Because it's interesting, because it says Hiram sent his service to Solomon because he heard David anointed him king. So it's okay. I guess he was the person David wanted me to reach out to whenever the dust settles, so let's go to you. And then Solomon sent that long message back. So in verse 7, so it was when Hiram heard the words of Solomon that he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be the Lord this day, for he has given David a wise son over this great people. Then Hiram sent to Solomon, I have considered the message which you sent me, and I will do all you desire concerning the cedar and the cypress logs. My servant shall bring them down from Lebanon. And if you guys look at a map, Israel, Lebanon is north of Israel, and Tyre is literally a peninsula on Lebanon that's still north of mainland Jerusalem. And so we can see it'll make sense later on when he says he's to float the logs there. I guess that was just more economical.
Yeah.
My servant shall bring them down from Lebanon to the sea. I will float them in rafts by the sea to place them to the place you indicate to me, and I will have them broken apart there. Then you can take them away, and you shall fulfill my desire by giving food for my household.
Kind of interesting. The system they got, it's I don't know, bro. Stuff like this always kind of blows my mind. Humans, bro. People have literally tied messages on a pigeon, bro. and got it to fly to a different place, and you get the mess.
Trained the pigeon.
I'm just like, bro, like stuff like that is always like mind-boggling to me. Like you telling me y'all putting these logs in rafts in the ocean, y'all can't in the river or whatever, the sea, but y'all cannot control how fast or how slow these go. But for this to come from Lebanon to Jerusalem, it's estimated about 2 or 3 weeks. So we got people in place to collect them. I don't know, man. I just think that's very interesting. And work smart, not hard. Who was the first person to say, bro, I can't be lifting these logs all the way up, hundreds of miles? Nah, we putting this in the water and hope for the best.
I mean, it's smart, like you say. Because I always think, but like for real, like how do you really build the pyramids?
For real, bro. I really do be thinking about that. Like any high structure back then, before it was technology and electricity, bro. Like how did y'all this would have had to been muscle, I'm assuming, to get things all the way up there.
So like, high, so perfect.
I'm like,
and so from so far.
Yeah, like I know. When we get to heaven, by the grace of God, if we still care, you know what I'm saying? Some of these hidden mysteries would be. I
just wonder about that too. You know, just a sidebar, right? I just wonder about that. Like, you know, it's like, oh, when you get to heaven, just ask God, right? I just be like, oh, we really care at that point.
Yeah, I just wonder if God even can entertain me with some of the questions I want, bro. Because like I think it's some of the dumbest questions, bro.
Sometimes I think God could just be like, you know what? When we get our new mind and our new body, you just get implant some of this knowledge already in there for us.
Yeah, probably. Or we just ain't gonna have the desire for it no more. Because like, bro, I be thinking about stuff like how, like, let's say you my friend, right? But I meet you at the age of 40. I want to know how many times me and you might have walked past each other and don't even know. You know what I mean? Like how many times that you saw a celebrity like years before they became a celebrity and they just was a regular person. You might have hold the door open for somebody.
Facts.
You know what I mean? But you ain't gonna remember their face.
I just think about how much random people pictures I'm probably in just because they're just snapping pictures.
That's true. That is very true. That's actually kind of scary too, though. Like
random. With a random thought.
Yeah.
But okay. And yeah, the payment system was interesting back then too. It's because Solomon was just saying, yeah, I'll pay your people, don't worry. But I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, bet.
However much you ask. Oh, okay.
Say that. And this coming from the wisest man.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, boy, you lucky, me and your daddy good. And I would severely overcharge you right now.
Because that's what I'm saying. What is that wise, bro? To give you a blank check?
He's saying, daddy already worked this out for me, so I already know how much I supposed to pay you.
Mm-hmm. But he say whatever you want. But he probably already know that Hiram ain't gonna shake him down. You know what I mean?
Boy, just saying, inflation would have become a thing.
Oh boy.
Then Hiram gave Solomon cedar and cypress logs according to all his desire. And Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household and 20 cores of pressed oil. Thus Solomon gave Hiram year by year. So the Lord gave Solomon wisdom, and as he had promised him, and there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty together. Then King Solomon raised up a labor force out of Israel, and the labor force was 30,000 men.
Whew.
And they sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month in shifts. They were 1 month in Lebanon, one month in Lebanon, and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the labor force. Solomon had 70,000 who carried burdens and 8,000 who carried stone in the mountains, besides 3,300 from the chiefs of Solomon's deputies who supervised the people who labored in the work. And the king commanded them to quarry large stones, costly stones, and hewn stones to lay the foundation of the temple. So Solomon builders, Hiram builders, the Gebelites quarried them, and they prepared timber and stones to build the temple.
I don't think I had ever. I don't think I recall Gebelites. Like I don't recall.
No, that's the first time I heard about them. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, but they helped build the temple.
I think the Gebelites, they people from Lebanon.
Probably.
So I guess it would be Lebanese. Yeah, I think they people from that region.
Yeah, context clues. But you could see they have a whole system, you know what I'm saying? They have a whole industry right now working on this this project.
This was no small endeavor.
No.
This is a massive workforce, bro.
Hmm.
This is a massive workforce.
And you know, we don't even realize, because like today,
It's like over 100,000 people.
Fox, bro. Because I was, bro, I'm like, bro, 30,000 people working on this.
And this is how you know they were slaving. Because you have 1 month in Lebanon, you got 2 months back here, but I guess you're still slaving when you come back here too.
But regardless,
at least you with your family.
See, bro, you're telling me that someone's job is to carry stone, bro.
Yes. Heavy stone.
Bro, because like, bro, you gotta think, because like you go to these ancient cities, bro, and a lot of things are like it's like they have this rock, this big mountain hill type thing, and they carve houses into it. You know what I'm saying? Like you go to Jerusalem and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. These, like a lot of their houses are made of stone, and they just cut through the rooms and all of that. But it's like in our side of the world, is wood or cinder block or even brick. Mm-hmm. That people make houses and we building up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't too much people quarrying anything. You know what I mean? Like y'all needed masons and all type of stuff just to build this house, and then just to build houses, period. And then when we think about, because we've heard about the temple, you know, in the Bible, but when we think about how it was described and how beautiful it was, and even
we're about to get into that, yeah.
Right, and even the reputation that Solomon's temple even had, like, period, bro. It's like, you know, they was working hard, like figuratively and literally on this.
They had a massive workforce. Even when I read this earlier this week, I didn't realize like how much people this really was.
Bro, from they say 30,000, I'm like, bro.
30.
Bro, imagine 1,000 people building a building, bro. Like in today's age, it's a little different because we have technology and all this stuff. But it's like, bro, that's a lot of people, bro.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Wow. What are you doing? Working on the temple.
Yep. That's like, I imagine that being like when what it called, the car in Detroit and thing, like the factories.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like, I imagine that's kind of, and it's just like the Bahamas too, you know, because we have a hotel industry. And so if they was to tally up the amount of people in the Bahamas that work in the hotel, it'll be thousands of people.
Yeah.
Because like, it's, bro, a lot of people work in the hotel. Your cousin, your auntie, your family members, if they don't work in the hotel, they more than likely have worked in the hotel or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. Or correlated to tourism jobs, so indirectly always at the hotel.
Right. And that's true too, because I have friends from the neighborhood who, they don't work for the hotel, but they have jobs in tourism. Like, you know what I'm saying? They might be a driver, they might do jet skis, they might sell these things, sell stuff, you know? And it's interesting. So you can kind of imagine when a whole country kind of together for one task and one objective.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Like, because there was a bunch of like, no, I lied. Because at this point I was just thinking like, this might be like the main thing in Jerusalem, in the city. But I'm like, I remember there was like millions of people at this point too.
Yeah.
Spread across different tribes.
For sure.
This might just be the main thing in Jerusalem that was happening. But
yeah, because like there was over 1 million when they left Egypt, right? I think it was like don't quote me, but when they left Egypt, I think it was over 1 million people. I hope I'm not wrong, but anyway. And so this was hundreds of years later.
Exactly.
And even if it wasn't, let's say it was 100,000.
By now there's
500 years later.
Yeah, it's a lot of them.
It's plenty people. It's plenty people now.
It's plenty people. But that's interesting. Like that's a massive construction project. And it's just the people who like laying the foundation for real. This ain't even like
right. They ain't even get the craftsmen.
Yeah,
right.
So in 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 1, and it came to pass in the 480th year of children of Israel had come out of the land of Egypt. My word. Well, I feel it's been so much more years than that. In the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. Now the house which King Solomon built for the Lord is lengthy. Its length was 6 cubits, its width was 20, and its height was 30 cubits. The vestibule in the front of the sanctuary of the house was 20 cubits long across the width of the house, and the width of the vestibule extended 10 cubits from the front of the house. And he made for the house windows with beveled frames. Against the wall of the temple, he built chambers all around. Against the walls of the temple, against the wall of the temple, he built chambers all around. Against the walls of the temple, all around the sanctuary and the inner sanctuary. Thus he made side chambers all around it. The lowest chamber was 5 cubits wide. The middle was 6 cubits wide. And the third was 7 cubits wide. For he made narrow ledges around the outside of the temple so that the support beams would not be fastened to the walls of the temple. And the temple, when it was being built, was built with stone furnished at the quarry, so that no hammer or chisel or any iron tool was heard in the temple while it was being built. Such forethought. But so much extra work upon, because imagine you mess something up. It means you can't even fix it. It means this piece of stone got to go back.
It do. Imagine you don't know that this too big or too small. You gotta take that back out and deal with that. But I think that's kind of like in league with. You remember? Man, this when I really regret not taking in as much information on the tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, it was a stone that was not cut by human hands. Anyway, you remember in the book of Daniel, the Nebuchadnezzar statue, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had a dream and there's a statue, and then a stone that was not cut with human hands came and break it.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, that represent Jesus. Dismantling the beast system. You know what I'm saying? Coming to save us.
Daniel 2:34.
Daniel 2:34. But also when we think about the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant and the tent of meeting, the tabernacle, all these things. I remember somewhere it being not to use instruments on these stones when you crafting it. You know what I'm saying? And that was even a metaphor. That was also all of these things basically pointing to a metaphor of God being like the holy thing that's going to come to heal us, and it's not defiled. And so when Jesus walked the earth, he was without sin. You know what I'm saying? And this is the same Jesus who gonna come to save us. So I believe the reason that they didn't use the tools in the temple is because they wanted to keep the temple. Like imagine this, bro. Let's say you a bodybuilder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a nice house. You ain't gonna be doing bench press and a thing in the living room. You understand what I'm saying? That's like a garage thing or a weight room type of thing. You feel me? Like when we think about the church and then the temple, we ain't doing the work. We keeping this sacred, bro.
Sanctified,
we ain't doing no
holy
work in there. You know what I'm saying? So, I feel like that's kind of like the motive behind the direction to not even use the tools in the temple.
Can be very true. In verse 8, the doorway for the middle story was on the right side of the temple. They went up the stairs to the middle story and from the middle to the third. So he built the temple and finished it, and he paneled the temple with beams and boards of cedar. And he built side chambers against the entire temple, each 5 cubits high, and they were attached to the temple with cedar beams. Then the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, concerning the temple which you are building, if you walk in my statutes, execute my judgments, keep all of my commandments, and walk in them, then I will perform my word with you, which I spoke to your father David, and I will dwell among the children of Israel, and I will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the temple and finished it, and he built inside the walls, and he built the inside walls of the temple with cedar boards from the floor of the temple to the ceiling. He paneled the outside with wood. He covered the floor of the temple with planks of cypress. Then he built the 20-cubit room at the rear of the temple. Pardon, you have to like.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
But I'm glad you did that because Exodus 20 verse 25 is what I'm talking about, and it say, if you build an altar of stones for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. That's what I'm thinking about. You know what I'm saying? And so just basically that thing of staying pure and not defiling it by using tools and working in the tabernacle, etc.
Yes, I mean, because like the thing is, like we're gonna see like a lot of direct callbacks between this temple and the one that was built originally. To your point, that's a direct callback. Like making sure, like, hey, we're keeping this holy, and not so anyone who's reading this in Kings, you go back to Exodus and you see why they shouldn't have used tools on the temple. Okay, where was I? Then in 16, he built a 20-cubit room from the rear of the temple, from the floor to the ceiling, with the cedar boards he built inside the inner sanctuary as the most holy place. And in front of the temple sanctuary was 40 cubits long. The inside of the temple was cedar carved with ornament buds and open flowers. All was cedar there. Was no stone to be seen. And then he prepared the inner sanctuary inside the temple to set the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord there. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. He overlaid it with pure gold and overlaid the altar with cedar. So Solomon overlaid the inside of the temple with pure gold. He stretched gold chains across the front of the inner sanctuary and overlaid it with gold. And the whole temple he overlaid with gold until he had furnished all the temple. He also overlaid with gold the entire altar that was by the inner sanctuary. Inside the inner sanctuary, he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. And you know what's interesting, right?
What's that?
We be all confused about how cherubims look in today's age, right? They knew exactly how these things looked.
Exactly how it looked.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I actually mad about that when you really think about it, you know, bro. Well, because, I mean, truly, all right, so I don't know if you had to do this. I remember doing this
we went to make Ark of the Covenant, right?
In Bahamas Academy, right?
I was just thinking the same thing, you know, because like we used the wrong type of angels for our Ark of the Covenant, right?
Right. You see what I'm saying? And it's like every time you think about the Ark,
ties in.
Right? Every Ark of the Covenant you see is be the same 2 angels, like the same type of angels with they wings folded on each other and thing. And I just like, bro, where was the disconnect, bro? Because they obviously knew what a cherubim is. You know what I'm saying? And they know. Multiple people who crafting this know. You know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't got no sculpture, you know what I'm saying? No picture or whatever. But they probably do, you know. But, you know, it's so much misleading information. You might see what it really look like and can't even fact check. You know, because, you know, the cat's out the bag. It's definitely not a baby. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but you can read the descriptions, like I think it's an ISI or Ezekiel, both of them. But they talk about like how the cherubims look.
The wheel in the wheel?
That's a different type of angel.
Oh, okay.
But that is a different. That is one of them. That is one of them.
That's one of them for sure.
But you're missing the part. Okay, you understand, right? But you know what's getting me with that one? It's not just a wheel in the wheel. It's a wheel in the wheel covered in eyes, bro.
Yeah. A bunch of eyes, yeah.
Sorry, like.
Oh, man. Bro, a biblically accurate angel is something.
That one would scare me.
Oh, for sure.
Like, no disrespect to any angels who might be, you know. But, like, that one would scare me, bro.
For sure, bro.
A wheel in a wheel. Like, first of all, why use a wheel?
Yeah, bro.
And then you fill it with eyes?
Yeah.
And then, like, is it the seraphim or is it cherubim with multiple faces? I think both of them got different faces. But you remember, is an angel with, like, the face of a lion, an eagle. They got, like, 4 heads, bro. 4 different faces.
Bro.
And we out here drawing little cutesy things on
little white people with wings, bro. Like,
come on, man.
You ever see a black angel, bro? Let's be real, bro.
No.
Bro, that's crazy, right?
Okay, I'm on a tangent right now, but I can find this, right? Because aren't someone described like the angel's like skin as bronze in the Bible?
I know in the book of Revelation when they talk about Jesus, they say bronze. Like, he just came out of furnace.
Yeah, this was like refined bronze, right?
Yeah. But, you know, I want to say something too, you know. Oh, this opening another tangent too, bro. But real talk, this is a tangent that my wife and I, we had a very long debate on, you know, because sometimes I don't know. I can be real. Sometimes I listen to people who are very extreme when it comes to the Bible. Meaning, like, I wouldn't call them legalists, but they are very strict with how they very black and white when it comes to the things of the Bible. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes it rubs off on me, bro. I feel like I'm more conservative than liberal these days on certain topics. But I was thinking about the commandments and, like, the first commandment and the second commandment. And I'm thinking about the no graven images one. And I'm wondering, because the Bible says, do not make any graven images. You know what I'm saying? Don't bow down to it, etc. And I'm like, bro, period? You feel me? Like, do not make graven images, period? So it's like, At Oakwood University, they have like a statue depicting Simon of Cyrene,
Carrying the cross.
carrying the cross.
Yeah, we have one similar like at Walla Walla.
Right. And in my mind, I'm like, bro, by definition, this is a graven image, unless graven images only mean idols, like idols that you engrave. You know what I'm saying? Because this, to me, this is an image that is graven, and I might be thinking of it too technical because I find myself really questioning this because it's like, bro, all right, let's say we can't make no graven images, like no statue, no nothing, right? That means every figurine.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
But then it makes me ask the question, what about paintings? Because what's the difference between a painting and a graven image? It's just a 3D version.
Because here's the thing now, right? Because now, like, because even in the same passage we're reading, right?
Right. And that's why I mention it.
Yeah, okay.
No, go on.
Because I actually defined some. Anyway, right? So in the same passage we're reading, right, we going to see, like, because they technically, they make these cherubims that we talk about, they actually going to be statues, right?
Yes.
And so now it's like, to me, how I interpret the Ten Commandments, open for debate, but I interpret it as like you making this with the sole purpose of actually worshiping as a god. And so now it gets a difference when you just like, because God telling you to make this stuff, well, these other things, but he ain't saying you to worship these, but it's still, he give you this talent to show your talent, show your craftsman skills. So I don't think it's period per se, but the dangerous part is when your man-made creation becomes your god.
Facts.
And then that's where you really get into the, oh, now you are breaking this commandment.
Correct. Because we could all agree that when it say don't bow down to these things and etc., that is a problem. You know what I mean? Like that's the commandment. Do not, right? But it was really the graven image thing. And I honestly did not find much evidence to support my idea that this meant, period, do not make no, like I look at multiple denominations, even Adventism, and everybody was in kind of a consensus of saying like, a graven image is an idol that is created by you or by somebody, you know what I'm saying, to worship, And yeah, so that's what I resolved to. But this was one of the main points that my wife brought to me, asking me, like, let's say precept by precept. This would be breaking, like, if you can't make any graven image, this would be breaking, the commandment, Moses' serpent rod. Remember when they got...
see, that conversation, how we get on Moses, right? But that conversation is so interesting, right? Because it's like, the reason, so a lot of people, even in the Christian communities, get so, I don't even know how, I gotta go back and look at our episode to see how we talk about this, right? But like, a lot of people get so caught up in that one, right? Because remember, God told Moses to tell the people that they have to look upon the rod and they'll be saved, right? And that has tripped up a lot of people, bro.
Yes.
Because you see, even to this day, the medical symbol is still be the cross with the serpent wrapped around it. But again, that's one of them things where it's like, is obedience better than sacrifice? Because God told y'all to do this. And God never say worship it. But God was like, do you guys have faith enough in me to do something that you think is kind of contrary to what you believe, but I told you guys to do it, but I'm telling you to do it so you can be saved, to show your faith in me. And so like, that rod will trip up a lot of people. It's like, but it's like, that's idolatry.
Right. And then at the same time, it's kind of like when Abraham was instructed to kill his son. That was blatantly breaking the Ten Commandment, thou shalt not kill, but it was a purpose behind that. And there was some symbology behind it. And in the same way, with the serpent, it was a symbol behind it, because later on, Jesus would use those same words and say that if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me, And so, line upon line, precept upon precept, when I read the Bible, I try to find new things. Like I try to find things that has never been taught to me. So if the Bible say do this, and I realize everybody isn't doing what the Bible say, I looking at it like, bro, this is crazy. And sometimes I feel like, bro, did I just discover something new? But at the same time, enough to pass the line and the precept, and seeing the cherubims and stuff like that, it kind of give me a more grounded understanding of what the command actually is, and that's what I resolved to, it meaning that it's not a graven idol.
Yeah. I mean, because think about it too, like people have, because think about like in this very definition, this is like a sculpture of an angel, right? We have different instances in the Bible where the angels say, do not worship me.
Facts.
do not worship. Stand up.
Get up.
I ain't the one to be worshiping.
Whoa there, buddy.
And so it's like the same thing. So it's like, hey, y'all can make images of angels, but are you guys worshiping them?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
But then again, let's say the text is really do not make no graven images, right? If we think about the significance of if we think of the significance of the Ark of the Covenant and the Tabernacle, and these places being representations of heaven,
bang, that's what I was going to get at too next too.
The angels have to be there,
and that's important. So because like for everyone's like knowledge, right? Both tabernacle, the temple is like a representation of the tabernacle, and the tabernacle is symbolic when you go back in Exodus, was literally showing the place where heaven and earth met, which is kind of how the tabernacle had so much more calls back to the Garden of Eden, which is where God came down and dwelt with his children. And think about the tabernacle and the temples, and what God just told Solomon, if you keep all my commandments and do all these things, I will come and dwell with the people. So it's supposed to be God's dwelling point amongst his chosen people here on earth. And so it's a representation of heaven. So like we just was reading, why was all the most holy place and everything decorated with just pure gold? That's God's throne. God's throne is the most decadent thing I could even describe. You know what I'm saying? And so like it's the seat of God on earth. And that was like, that's why it had to God's point, that's why the angels had to be there, because the cherubims, those who don't know, they guide God's throne. So our cherubims on the Ark of the Covenant, they were literally guarding the throne of God. Why were they outside the most holy place? They were guarding the throne of God.
Why were they outside of the Garden of Eden?
Right, guarding the throne of God. So like literally, so like, again, we talk about all these, like these different angels have different roles in heaven. You know what I'm saying? Like the cherubims are God's protectors. You ain't getting close to the throne of God, and the cherubim will deal with you.
That's true. You was looking up something.
I was looking at it. I mean, I found it, right? But it's Daniel 10 verse 4 through 6. Now on this 24th day, the first month, I was by the side of the great river that is the Tigris. I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, there was a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of ephahs. His body was like beryl. His face had the appearance of lightning. His eyes were torched like fire. His arms and feet were burnished bronze in color, and the sounds of his words were like the voice of a multitude. And if you read the same thing, which he was talking about in Revelation, it's kind of like the exact same description. Yeah. So we know who they was talking about. So it wasn't really an angel per se, but still, it was worth the. I just always remember that definition.
Yeah, because no, I was only because I was making a joke, because every angel you see is going to be white, bro. Unless it's on a show or a movie.
Yeah, but
like you see a picture of an angel.
I remember in college for the first time, like when a professor showed like a random picture of like a black Jesus, and I was like, "Dang, you're right. We don't know his color."
Yeah, we don't. Like we could take an educated guess. You know what I'm saying? And then see, my thing is, I this is another little tangent, but I just wish we could all just get past it. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why
a lot of people turned off from Christianity.
No. Yes, but the point I was getting. I think that's one of the main reasons why God is like, bro, do not make graven images, bro. Like Jesus was around. Someone could have made a statue of Jesus just to keep, bro.
That's a fact. And that's the next thing too, right? Because like, man, I was hearing someone, I was telling you about this off and on this week. This actually yesterday, but listen to this podcast when this guy was talking about like, oh, too much people talk about Jesus the God and they don't talk about Jesus the man. But to your point, it's like, we will become like every other religion if we put a face to God. Because I think we would humanize him too much to the point where he loses all of his sacredness.
I agree.
Because he becomes the face of a movement at that point. He becomes Haile Selassie. He becomes all these other people. Like, just give him a name, plug and chug. All the different religions. Oh, I can see Vishnu. This is Vishnu. Oh, I can see. I don't want to offend anyone, but you see it.
But then at the same time, it's like, bro, God is so magnificent. He cannot be captured in an image. See, the thing about it is Jesus came in human form for a mission, right? But when Moses was talking to God on the On the mountain, it's like, bro, I can't even. You gotta look at my presence, bro. You can't even look at me. You gotta look at my presence, bro. How we can take that,
man? And then one thing is get me too, right? And this one thing I still like try to understand. When he said, remember Jesus said, "No one will see the Father. The only way you can see the Father is through me."
Through me, right?
I'm like, is that even when we get to heaven? I also think so too.
I think so.
Because think about like God's presence is so great. Even when we get there, we still can't see him. So it's gonna be like, what are you really trying to like encapsulate?
Right.
Like, there's nothing you can do to capture my.
Don't even waste your time.
Goodness, righteousness. Like,
you disrespecting me by thinking you. See, this is the thing. He is God. We are human, right? I have all of my power so I can make you. You don't have enough power to make me. So I could make you. I could form you.
I can speak and
you exist. But you can't. The power I give you to draw, to paint, to sculpt, it's not enough to capture me. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. Mm-hmm. Period. You know what I'm saying? And don't do it because I feel like it's just something in humans to want to worship something, bro. It's like, you go back to the golden calf, bro. And there was multiple golden calves.
Yes.
There's more than one, bro.
Yeah.
It's funny. And because it's like people always want a tangible thing to worship.
Mm-hmm. Later on in Kings, they're going to make an appearance again.
Yeah, again. And that's I think that's such a crucial, and that's at a crucial point in the Jerusalem like history. But the thing about it is, the faith is the evidence of things unseen, right? When you see, it limits the amount of faith you could have, because I could see it right then and there, bro. But the thing about God is like God wants to empower us to have faith without seeing. Even Jesus said that. Blessed is he. I don't miss right. I getting a little rusty, dog. You remember Jesus was saying, like, you adulterous generation, you always ask for a sign, but the only sign you can get is, the sign of Jonah. Just like, oh, Jonah was in the belly for 3 days, 3 nights, so will I be. And then he turned around and say how the people in the days of Solomon, the queen of the south, the queen of Sheba, she came, and you know what I'm saying? But y'all, it's like y'all have me around, but y'all don't even have faith. You feel me? But there's people who ain't gonna see me, bro. Blessed, I think it's blessed to see that has faith, but don't see. I can't remember. But, it's people who do not see, bro, who have not had the experience and have all of the faith in the world. It's the woman with the issue of blood. You know what I'm saying? It's the Canaanite woman. All of these people who ain't Israelites, who don't have you at their disposal, disposal. You know what I'm saying? That had exceeding faith, but yeah, so that was I don't want to cut you off.
No, go on. It's John 20 verse 29. Blessed, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen me and have believed.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So inside the inner sanctuary, he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. One wing of each cherubim was 5 cubits, and the other wing of the cherubim was 5 cubits. Just saying, these were massive sculptures, bro. Because you think if 1 cubit is supposed to be like a forearm length, right? That's more than a foot already.
More than a foot, yeah. These things was taller than me. Or about as tall as me.
Huge. 10 cubits from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other. The other cherub was 10 cubits. Both cherubim were the same size and shape. The height of one cherub was 10 cubits. And so was the other cherub. He sat the cherubim inside the inner room, and they stretched out the wings of the cherubim so that the wing of one touched one wall and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall. And their wings touched each other in the middle of the room. Also, he overlaid the cherubim with gold. He carved all the walls of the temple all around, both inner and outer sanctuaries, with carved figures of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. Again, the cherubims were carved all around because, again, it was a reflection of the heavenly throne. And the floor of the temple was overlaid with gold, both the inner and outer sanctuaries. For the entrance of the inner sanctuary, he made doors of olive wood. The lintel and the doorposts were 1/5 of the wall. The 2 doors were of olive wood, and he carved on them figures of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. And he spread gold on the cherubim and on the palm trees. For the door of the sanctuary, he also made doorposts of olive wood, 1/4 of the wall. And the 2 doors were of cypress wood. 2 panels comprising one folding door, and 2 panels comprising the other folding door. And he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers on them, and overlaid them with gold, applied evenly on carved work. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of hewn stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year of the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid in the month of Ziv, and in the 11th year in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, the house was finished in all of its details according to its plans. So he was 7 years in building it.
Man,
Mercy.
7 years.
God's perfect number, eh?
Right, pretty full circle. So yeah, I mean, as you can see, this was a firm foundation, stone, all type of different wood, olive wood, cedar wood, whatever. You know what I mean? Everything gold. Everything coated with gold.
Gold on everything.
Gold on everything. So it was probably very beautiful. I'm sure it was very beautiful in the temple, and you could see the level of detail that went into this. Y'all have 30,000 plus people working, and it take y'all 7 years. It probably was a big temple. But what's interesting to me though, bro, when we think about the temple, this is a fundamental part of Levitical laws. This is where the Ark of the Covenant gonna be. This is where sacrifices gonna be from now on. And this is so like key to the plan of redemption. And I'll be honest with you, I do not know temple stuff. I'm not like, that's one thing I'm gonna try to study on this year, because I feel like it's so much hidden gems within it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you understand the tabernacle, understand the Ark of the Covenant, and understand the temple, you will understand the book of Hebrews a lot better. Because Hebrews, you can take it at face value. Oh, Jesus is our high priest.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, right? But if you take it as a metaphor, what does the high priest do?
Mm-hmm.
In the temple, what do they do? When they get in the holy place or the most holy place, what is happening? And so when Paul's, right, you know what I'm saying? So when Paul's saying, you know, Jesus is our high priest, if we understand what the high priest do and what the necessity of the temple, we can understand what Jesus is doing in heaven right now for us. You know, and I think it's like a deep theological point that is easily missed, because like it ain't really like that, like in my opinion, it ain't really that broken down in the Bible. Like they ain't spelling and they ain't spoon feeding you with this. Like you could almost believe that, oh yeah, temple sacrifice and all that's done. So the temple has no relevance today. Like you could believe that because we don't have Levites no more. You know what I'm saying? But all of these things was a shadow of things to come. You know, and it come down to when people say, oh, we under a new covenant, or we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. But all of these things were a shadow of things to come. People like to treat Old Testament and Levitical laws as a shadow of things that has passed, but it's a shadow of things to come. All of these things are like the temple, the festivals that used to be happening. These are representations of Jesus and the plan of salvation in multiple different ways. This basically, God put these things in place so that the Hebrews, his people at the time, could never forget the mission, could never forget Jesus's his role and what's about to happen. But what happened? They still forget. And now today we look at it as, oh yeah, this was just something that was, and this is just something that's documented in the Bible. You know?
Yeah, like as he was talking, I was starting to think too. It's like, what did God tell Solomon? If you walk in my statutes, execute my judgments, keep all my commandments, and walk in them, then I will perform my word, which I spoke to you with your father David, and I will dwell amongst the children of Israel, and I will not forsake my people Israel. But God's saying, but you guys have to keep up your end of the bargain too. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you walking in my statutes? Are you keeping my judgments? Are you executing my judgments? Are you keeping all my commandments? Are you walking in them? Plot twist, we know that Israel ain't the most welcoming and willing to change their ways type people. And man, like we talking about this temple's beauty, but we know it don't last that long. And that's like the sad thing about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like how quickly that we cost ourselves from God to pull his presence away from us. You know what I'm saying? Like there was supposed to be heaven on earth, quote unquote. But at the same time, it's like there is no heaven without God. And when we in our sinful ways remove ourselves from God's presence, he pulls his presence away from us, and it becomes like, what is this? It's just a pretty building at the end of the day, because it's losing all of its purpose that it's here for. And to your point, we kind of lose all the symbology of the temple and the tabernacle, because in our sinful ways and through our human nature and through history, all these things, the significance just got watered down and they kind of got passed away. And it's just so interesting how history repeats itself even on a grander scale.
Multiple times. And bro, you say something that just really hit me hard, bro. Like, you can't have heaven without God. I must say, y'all, the devil busy. I ain't even get giant line. Technical difficulties all the time, but by the grace of God, we back. And so, what you said was, it really hit me, bro, because you say, can't be heaven without God, bro. And you know, it's something so like, it's so simple, bro, but it has such depth to it. It's some people that believe that you should not have to follow strict laws. For instance, some people believe that if you want to be polygamous, you should be able to do that. If you want to abuse substances, marijuana, alcohol, pills, all these things, you should be able to do that to your heart's content. Some people believe that anything you want, you should be able to have. Anything you want to do, you should be able to do. And we should not, any type of carnal propensities that you have, any attractions to any gender that you have. Some people believe that, bro, there should be no restriction. If this is how you feel, do. Regardless of any religious backing. You know what I'm saying? But these people want heaven on earth. But the heaven on earth that God gave us is a realistic heaven. Because in heaven, I'm sure the angels having a blast and they living and they don't have to worry about sin. But you know what's happening in heaven right now? Jesus is atoning for our sins right now. Jesus petitioning God, interceding on our behalf right now. That's the heaven that people ain't really thinking about when they thinking about heaven. And when we had the temple, when we had the tabernacle, when we had the tent of meeting, when we had the Ark of the Covenant, that was the representation of heaven on earth. And that was the place where sins were being atoned for. Because while we living on earth, it's like the biggest thing that separates us, the only thing that separates us from God is sin. You know, it's the reason why, it's the result of the eating of the fruit. Ever since the fall of man, we've been plagued with sin. And God, his biggest thing is like, I want to save y'all. I don't want y'all to be eternally damned. I want to cleanse you from your sin. I want to give you an opportunity to actually get to heaven. But the problem is, a lot of people want their heaven on earth. This is something that I feel very passionately about. I wanted to make my album about this. It's taking longer than I expected. But it's like, people want their heaven on earth without the God. But look, when God give us heaven on earth, it wasn't about partying and just living to the fullest extent of life, you know. It was about getting your sins, washing away your sins, cleansing your sins. That's what it was about when he gave us heaven on earth. But with us, we want to experience the fullness of life. You feel me? We want to experience earth on earth. You know what I'm saying? It ain't heaven. Because God is in heaven. And you can see God, and godliness is in heaven. But we want to experience the most of this earth. Solomon is now fulfilling his father David's dreams of building the temple. The king of Tyre has provided resources and labor to assist, and there are also 30,000 of Israel's men dedicated to the task. Overall, The building took 7 years. But the temple wasn't the only palatial estate built during Solomon's reign. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.